At first glance, it looked like a mistake. A weird little car with bulging headlights, a crooked engine, and lines that looked more alien than American. It didn't roar. It didn't race. It didn't turn heads. Not for the right reasons anyway. And yet, this awkward outsider quietly did what no flashy muscle car or chrome-covered cruiser could. It saved an entire American brand from collapse. This is the story of the 1961 Plymouth Valiant, the car Detroit never wanted to love, the car buyers laughed at, the car history tried to forget, and the unsung hero that carried Plymouth through its darkest hour. So buckle up, because this isn't just a tale about a car. It's a lesson in survival, soul, and silent strength. Number 9. A storm brews in Detroit. The industry in upheaval. Detroit is booming, but beneath the chrome and tail fins, trouble simmers. Post-war prosperity had fueled America's love for excess, sprawling land yachts with towering fins, thundering V8s, and dashboards that looked like cockpit control panels. Cars weren't just transport, they were rolling statements of American swagger. But by the end of the decade, that swagger was showing cracks. Cities were becoming crowded, gas prices were creeping upward, European imports, tiny, efficient, and oddly charming, were sneaking into American driveways. The VW Beetle in particular was defying logic and winning hearts. Meanwhile, AMC had a hit with the compact Rambler American, and Ford and GM were cooking up their own compact solutions. At Chrysler headquarters in Highland Park, Michigan, the mood was tense. Their Plymouth division, once a rising star, was floundering. Sales were sliding. The cars felt stale. Worse still, Plymouth was being eclipsed by Dodge, and seen by many as a diluted echo of the parent company. The brand that had once stood toe-to-toe with Ford and Chevrolet was now gasping for relevance. The decision was made. Plymouth needed a savior, not just a model, a movement, a complete reset, and from that pressure cooker of desperation and ambition, a strange little car would be born. Number 8. Birth of a compact rebel. The Falcon Fighter. They called it the Falcon Fighter. Behind closed doors, Chrysler's answer to Ford's soon-to-launch compact. But this wouldn't be just a shrunken full-size car. No. Chrysler wanted something bolder, smarter, different. A car that wouldn't just compete, but redefine what a compact could be. Enter Virgil Exner, Chrysler's larger-than-life design chief, a man whose designs looked more like sculpture than transportation. Exner had been dazzling the world with the forward look, a styling language that brought jet-age optimism to American roads. Under his pen, the Chrysler 300, the Imperial, and the DeSoto Adventurer became chrome-draped showpieces. For the new compact, Exner refused to play it safe. The result? The 1960-1961 Plymouth Valiant, a car that looked like it had crash-landed from Mars. Its long, pointed nose, its frog-like headlamps, body creases that seemed to ripple like a stretched muscle, a wraparound rear window like a space observatory. It wasn't just different, it was alien. Critics called it a budget rocket ship. Buyers weren't sure whether to laugh or look again. But under the oddball skin, the Valiant was hiding secrets, smart engineering, thoughtful features, and something almost no one expected in a compact car: soul. Number 7. Engineering brilliance in disguise. Beneath the Valiant's spaceship styling was a machine that deserved far more respect than it received. Instead of body-on-frame construction, which was still the norm for most American cars, Chrysler gave the Valiant a unibody structure, making it lighter, stiffer, and safer. This was forward-thinking design, the kind of innovation that would become industry standard decades later. The front suspension used torsion bars, a Chrysler signature that delivered a smoother ride and tighter handling than the clunky coil springs found in competitors. In the rear, leaf springs kept things simple and serviceable. The Valiant's turning radius was tight, perfect for navigating city streets and parking lots, a true blessing for daily drivers tired of wrestling land yachts through narrow roads. Inside, Chrysler added thoughtful features: a standard heater, optional push-button transmission, noise insulation materials, giving the Valiant a quiet ride that felt refined. And yet, the biggest surprise was still hiding under the hood: an engine that would go down as one of the toughest ever built. Number 6. The Slant 6. Chrysler's undying heart. Tilted 30 degrees to the side, the Valiant's engine looked wrong, but it was oh so right. This was the Slant 6, a technical marvel that redefined Chrysler's engineering credibility. Offered in both 170 and 225 cubic inch variants, the Slant 6 delivered smooth, torquey power, ideal for city driving and daily use. But what made it legendary wasn't horsepower, it was longevity. This engine took abuse like few others. Taxi fleets ran it for hundreds of thousands of miles. It powered light trucks, industrial machines, even military vehicles. Mechanics came to call it the engine that won't die. Its secret, an intake manifold shaped like a tuning fork, based on real science from Chrysler's research labs, relocated water pumps for more compact design, an overall layout that allowed for easier serviceability, and all of it packed into a cheap little car the industry laughed at. The Valiant didn't just run, it endured. And in the early 1960s, that meant everything. Number 5, the sales success no one wanted to talk about. When the Valiant officially launched in 1960, something strange happened. Despite the weird looks, despite the design criticism, despite being mocked as a retired school teacher's car, it sold. Big time. In its debut year alone, over 194,000 Valiants found homes. A stunning figure for an unproven compact. Buyers may not have loved the way it looked, but they couldn't deny how smart it was. It was efficient, durable, easy to park, and affordable to maintain. The very things a growing American middle class needed. But public perception was a different story. The Valiant became a paradox. The car everyone bought but no one wanted to be seen driving. It wasn't cheap enough to compete with the VW Beetle. It wasn't stylish enough to steal buyers from the Ford Falcon or Chevy Corvair. It wasn't sporty, wasn't flashy, wasn't cool, it was logical. And in the muscle-bound, image-obsessed American car market of the 60s, logic was boring. Number 4, the branding confusion that doomed it. If the Valiant had one fatal flaw, it wasn't mechanical. It was marketing. When the car debuted, it didn't wear a Plymouth badge. It was simply called Valiant by Chrysler. That was intentional. Chrysler wanted to spin Valiant off as its own brand, an American compact division with global potential. But this caused chaos. Dealers were confused. Customers didn't know if they were buying a Chrysler, a Plymouth, or something else entirely. By 1961, Chrysler folded and rebranded the Valiant under the Plymouth name. But the damage was done. The Valiant had become a car without an identity. It was a well-made machine with no emotional anchor, no cultural tribe, no soul-stirring badge. In a market where cars were as much about who you were as what you drove, that was a fatal oversight. Number 3, a global legacy. Few Americans know, while the Valiant struggled for affection in the US, something surprising happened overseas. The little car became a hit. In Australia, Chrysler developed a unique Valiant line, including wagons, utes, and eventually the high-performance Valiant Charger, a local legend in the Aussie muscle scene. In Mexico, Argentina, Canada, and South Africa, Valiants rolled off assembly lines and into the hearts of working families, rural farmers, taxi fleets, and tradesmen. Why? Because it was tough. Because it could handle bad roads, heat, dust, and neglect. Because it kept going when everything else quit. For many outside the US, the Valiant wasn't weird. It was heroic. Number 2, a car time. Tried to forget but didn't. For decades, the Valiant remained overlooked. Not rare enough to be collectible. Not glamorous enough for nostalgia. Just another old car fading away on back roads and junkyards. But time has a way of shifting perspective. Today, collectors, especially younger ones, are rediscovering the Valiant's charm. It wasn't about flash. It was about function with heart. An honest car built with integrity in an era when bloat and flash were blinding the industry. Its slant 6 engine, its sharp handling, its weird but purposeful styling, all are being re-evaluated. With rising prices for muscle cars, the Valiant is becoming a gateway classic, affordable, accessible, and brimming with character. Some are even being hot-rodded, others restored to factory specs. Either way, the Valiant is finally getting its second act. Number 1, the unsung hero that kept the wheels turning. The 1961 Plymouth Valiant didn't win races. It didn't dazzle with horsepower. It never became a pop culture icon, but it mattered. In a time of change, it kept Plymouth alive. It gave Chrysler a foothold in the compact war. It introduced engineering that would influence generations of vehicles. And it quietly carried millions of Americans to school, to work, to vacations, to first dates and final goodbyes, all without asking for the spotlight. The Valiant wasn't a star. It was the steady grip on the wheel when everything else felt uncertain. And maybe that's the kind of greatness we need to remember more often. So what do you think? Was the 1961 Plymouth Valiant a misunderstood masterpiece? Did your parents or grandparents drive one? Have you ever heard that slant 6 purr like a sewing machine? We'd love to hear your story. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this journey through history moved you, hit like, share, and subscribe. Because here at Regal Rides, we don't just tell stories about cars, we honor the machines that moved us.